when you're out in the middle of the ocean, you really can't get any fresh bread. I think a tech student, she was from Bangkok, Thailand. She used to come by the donut shop frequently. So I think she wrote on like a Thai blog, oh, these are the best donuts in America. And that's when we were getting a lot of great press. You're coming up with this idea, but you need other people to execute it all the time the same way.
Kamal Grant discovered early on that one of the simplest ways to bring joy to people was through a sweet treat. He loved seeing smiles light up after the first bite of something delicious, and that passion eventually led him to become a renowned pastry chef, delighting thousands with his donut creations. But that's just the current chapter of his story. The journey truly began when, as a high school student, his entire perspective changed with one unexpected visitor, a moment that would set him on the path to turning his passion into a thriving business.
Going out there, I didn't think I was gonna win. It's all the people, the toughest thing always.
Thank you for tuning in to Give 'em the Business. If you enjoy learning from Black entrepreneurs and business leaders about their stories of adversity and success, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. But more importantly, please share it with your friends because your endorsement is what matters the most. On today's episode, we have Kamal Grant, founder of Sublime Doughnuts, a successful pastry shop in Atlanta, Georgia with multiple locations. I hope you enjoy our conversation where he shares his journey. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Give 'em the Business. I'm your host, Troy Evans, and today we have the founder of Sublime Doughnuts as our guest, Mr. Kamal Grant. How you doing today, brother?
I'm great. I appreciate you having me here.
Oh, it is our pleasure. I have been a connoisseur of your donuts for several years, and when I had the opportunity to have you on the show, I wanted to make sure I jumped at it just so I can get some free donuts.
Well, that's the move. I always bring some donuts, so it's always spreading donut love. That's my thing.
All right, I love it. Well, listen, I'm glad you were able to be here. And on Give 'em the Business, we like to tell the entrepreneurial journey, not just the success that you are currently having, but in essence, where it all began.
Okay.
And so for you, that began right here in the greater Atlanta area. Tell me a little bit about what it was like for you growing up in Atlanta.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, obviously I love Atlanta. You know, Atlanta, there's a lot of Black excellence in Atlanta. So you can see a lot of Black people doing good things. But so just being out here, seeing that, but you know, obviously makes you want to do stuff, do other things. But I always loved sweets and baking as a kid. You know, I grew up in Marietta, so went to Marietta High. And, you know, when I was there, you know, for some reason, you had to decide. I was in high school and I was thinking I need to decide what I want to do for the rest of my life. and in high school, I was in one of the food service class, and an executive from Dunkin' Donuts came by and just talked about eating, you know, the experimental sweets they made in the research development lab. And I was like, you know what? I really like baked goods. I should think about becoming a baker. And after that, my mind was like, I want to be a baker. I want to be a pastry chef. And that was sort of what started me on my journey. Like, let's figure out this world and see what it's like. And from there, I was like, all right, let's become a pastry chef. Let's try to be the best pastry chef we can be. And I didn't have any money to go to college. So after high school, I joined the Navy as a cook in the Navy, you know. Went out to San Diego, and when you're stationed on a boat in San Diego, USS John Young, that was the boat I was stationed on, DD-973. When you're in a station on a boat in San Diego, you sort of tour the Pacific side of the world. So being able to go and travel, you know, down Mexico, but then also go to Australia, Thailand, Dubai, Singapore, Japan, see that coming from, you know, just living in Georgia my whole life to seeing that whole other side of the world, and then realizing, especially because I was really in love with food at the time, you know, I was an early foodie. A foodie before it was cool to be a foodie, and just try to see the cultural differences, but then the things that connected us all with food things, you know, because, you know, food is different in all different parts of the world, but there's some, things that connect what makes stuff tasty. And it could just be like the texture of things, soft things that have a little crispy texture or, something that's a little tangy on it. So seeing that, traveling the world and really experiencing different types of food and food aspects really opened up my palate and brightened my mind. And I was like, okay, I'm excited about this world. I really want to do it. So, you know, uh,
So you kind of blew through like a big portion of your life real fast there. So you were in high school, and
yeah.
that's when you were a foodie before it was popular to be foodie. I think I'm a foodie now, and I'm actually a little bit of a at home baker. So
Okay.
maybe one day we could exchange some baked goods and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Let me know.
But so it was a high school experience where an exec came in
Mhm.
and introduced you to the world of baked goods and experimental flavors at Dunkin' Donuts that really turned you on to the concept of being a pastry chef.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was just really wanting to do something. I wanted to do something creative. I don't know. For some reason, as a kid, I was like, I need to figure out what I need to do. And I was like, I don't want to work in an office, and I really, like to experiment with stuff. And I liked eating baked goods. I still like baked goods. So I can still just go a whole day as a grown man and just eat Reese's peanut butter cups, like a child. So I still do that. But I really enjoy it. And so just seeing that and realizing, oh, that can be a job, that can be something that people actually do. And I was like, all right, this is kind of the path I want to choose. And fortunately, because you make a lot of crazy decisions when you're a teenager. And fortunately, I was like, I enjoyed it when after I got into the world and was like, oh, I still like it. And I still want to do it. Mhm.
So that's good to know because that exposure to different opportunities is what's key in
Yeah.
life. And really, you don't know what young people are going to get turned on by. So having that corporate exec from Dunkin' Donuts come in really at least set you on your path and whatnot. And so you mentioned that you decided to join the Navy out of high school, and you were stationed in San Diego, one of my favorite cities in the U.S. My wife is from San Diego,
What's up?
and you were able to really explore the Pacific.
Hmm.
In some ways, I'm jealous because you've been to a lot of countries that I still want to go to, been trying to get to for the past 20 years. But you mentioned the different culinary experiences that you've had in Mexico and Singapore and Dubai and Australia. Talk to me a little bit about how different cultures approach their food and what you appreciated about that.
Yeah, it's, a lot of, obviously, different cultures, you have different spices or different ingredients. Your environment, your geography can have. So, but just the aspects of what makes something delicious is sort of the same all around. People like, and just to dig into, like the senses, sweet, salty, sour, umami, those things are just sort of the building blocks of what makes things, tasty and what we like to taste. So if you can put all of those in different combinations and know the ingredients that can make those combinations good, and then you can build on those. And then even looking at the baking world, you know, because baking is different in obviously lots of places around the world. Different, they have different breads, but the sort of the building blocks are still the same. Like people really like soft, fluffy things. Soft, fluffy things, or if it has a soft, fluffy with a crispy outside texture. So if you can make those concepts work, or people like cool things. Like one of the unique experiences was going to Singapore. In Singapore, they have this ice cream sandwich that you can get on the street vendors. And normally growing up, here in America, an ice cream sandwich is chocolate chip cookie and ice cream in the middle. But their ice cream sandwich was literally like a sliced bread. It was a colorful bread, and then they put a piece of ice cream in the middle. And I was like, oh, that's really unique. And you taste it, and it was a different experience, but it was sort of the same experience. So I was like, this can be a really cool idea. And obviously, when I started the donut shop, we did an ice cream sandwich sort of spin on that because I was like, we don't just have to do cookies. We can do it in our soft donuts. And it was really successful. People really liked it. So just being able to go travel the world and see those unique things and we're like, okay, I understand the building blocks of good cuisine because a lot of people that I think that's the difference between like a chef and a cook. A cook just kind of follows recipes and oh, this is the way it's always been done. A chef can really develop something out of scratch and be like, okay, these are things that people like. I can take things from different aspects and make a whole new thing. So that's sort of the idea.
And you were talking about specifically baking,
Mhm.
and I think of baking as a science
Mhm.
and cooking as an art,
Mhm.
right? Um, would you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, no, baking's definitely a science, but baking is an art too. Yeah, I mean, cooking is a little more jazz. You can a little more finagle it and go play with the flavors as you go. You got to have a set formula when you're baking. Real bakers call it formulas and stuff, but if you've baked long enough, like I have, you understand what makes things work, and then you can build upon those things. So you understand, oh, this is how much sugar I need it to if I have a cookie, if I want it to spread, this is how much sugar I need to put if I want it to brown or something. So you have an understanding, you can do that and you can play around with it. So yeah, yeah, baking. I mean, it is all the culinary arts. So yeah, yeah.
Well, you've definitely joined the two, but let's stick with your experience in the Navy a little bit longer. So you were operating as a cook on the ship,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And if I understand correctly, you became known for being able to craft some treats on the ship, and your shipmates were often looking forward to having your food, which I would guess is probably not the normal experience for people out to sea.
No, it isn't. I mean, obviously, you get a lot of flack. They don't think our food's good, but that was the thing about me. I mean, the food isn't good a lot of the times because a lot of people join the Navy. They don't necessarily want to be a cook, so they join and just sign up for a job, and they become a cook. I wanted to be a cook before I got into the Navy, so that was sort of my experience was different than them. So I really took a passion and tried to make things better and really trying to, make fun, unique baked goods while we were out in the middle of the ocean. Because when you're out in the middle of the ocean, you really can't. You can't get any fresh bread. So we had to make our own bread, make our own pizza dough, make our own cinnamon rolls. So, that was really my journey in baking for other people. And, I like to tell a lot of people, when everyone's baking, say, oh, I'm a baker, I should open up my own business. And I'm like, everybody loves free, everybody loves free. But it's another thing when you make something and people have to come back and see if they like it. And being in the Navy, it was a whole different story because these are people that are stuck in a confined space with you and they're quick to tell you they hate it. I hate it. I hate you. Everything you made was terrible yesterday. You need to do better. You know what I'm saying? So you really got quality feedback, and people really enjoy the cinnamon rolls, and I really could perfect making the best cinnamon rolls and other things like that. So that was really a fun, unique experience in my early journey of trying to become the best baker I could possibly be. Mhm.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. You're in a confined environment, and if they didn't enjoy the experience the day before, they're gonna definitely let you know about it.
Yeah, because these are your friends and foes, you know what I'm saying? So it's nothing for them to be like, I hated it,
Right.
So it is cool. These weren't strangers who are gonna, and it's the Navy where people are, the military in general, people are very direct. They say curse like a sailor for a reason, because people really talk to people, kind of crazy. So, that gives you a thick skin and really taught me how to be a good cook at the time when I was, just starting my journey.
And so, how long were you in the Navy?
4 years. Mhm.
Okay. And so, when you get out of the Navy, after being introduced to all of these different culinary delights around the world and continuing to hone your craft, you come back to Atlanta, or did you go straight to culinary school then?
Yeah, well, I got out the Navy to go to culinary school because as I was in the Navy and obviously I liked cooking. It was kind of a crossroads right then because, the Navy and just being in the military, if for military people or just people talking about being in the military, it is kind of a secure lifestyle. You know you're going to get paycheck, the first to the 15th. And obviously, I was good at my job. So I could have moved up in rank very quickly and, had a good lifestyle for myself. Um, but obviously, I started the journey because I wanted to be a chef. And so I was kind of at that crossroads, like I could stick around, do 20, 30 years here in the military and, have a good lifestyle, or I could risk it all and, let's see if I can become a good chef. And, I was talking to one of my, I think, one of, a lot of people, told this to a lot of other my shipmates, and they kind of encouraged me on the journey, like, get out of here. You can do better than this. So that's when the Culinary Institute of America, was sort of what started me to go to the Navy because I wanted to go to that college in particular because it was the world's premier culinary college, the Culinary Institute of America. So I was like, all right, let's do it. We got our Navy College Fund, we got the GI Bill. So signed up for the Culinary Institute of America, got out the Navy probably in August, then was up at this Culinary Institute in September.
And
Mhm.
that was in New York, right?
Yeah, in New York. Mhm.
So what was that experience like?
Oh, it was great. It was really good. I mean, I still got a lot of great friends and a lot of really successful friends that, we started our journey together going to school. Because, that school in particular, and that's what I like to tell a lot of even people who ask me if they should go to the school. I say, the school was great, loved the school, but the school didn't make you a good chef. A lot of people were sort of like me at the time. They went to the school because they wanted to be a good chef and they heard this was the best place. So a lot of people that go to that school are already driven. They're driven to be great chefs. So yeah, so school's great. A lot of great people I know that became that are really good chefs out here and doing really great things. So, and yeah, and it really just taught you a lots of wealth of things. I mean, I remember going to the school, because I got out the Navy, so I was like 22 at the time. And it's just crazy. I always tell this story when random people just talk about growing up and, not knowing things. Like going to the school was the first time I had fresh squeezed orange juice. And I was like, yo, this is so delicious. Like it blew my mind. Like I was like, I can't believe I've never tasted orange juice before. Like fresh squeezed orange juice was crazy delicious. And the first time I used like real butter, because I grew up using margarine and stuff. And I was like, real butter is it's kind of better. So just going to the school, seeing that, seeing different aspects of food like that, and being like, wow, it is, certain ingredients do play a role in making things better. You kind of do get used to the same thing if that's all you're accustomed to. But if you go outside your box and be like, okay, let me see other stuff, and it is a difference. Sometimes, and that's a whole nother thing with being a chef. Sometimes they throw ingredients on there and they're for nothing, but sometimes some things do change. And fresh squeezed orange juice is one of those things. It's delicious. Apple cider too. Never had that before. It's like that's a whole nother rant. I was like, this tastes like apple juice. Like a straight apple. It's great, but that's a whole nother thing.
So you got introduced to a lot of new foods at the Culinary Institute, and now you were not just doing baking. You were not just learning baking. You were learning all types of cooking at the Culinary Institute, right?
No, I joined the baking and pastry arts program, so I really wanted to become a great baker and a pastry chef. So yeah, that was sort of my thing. Yeah.
So it's a
Mhm.
different discipline. You don't uh, learn everything and then kind of pick a major. You actually just go into a specific discipline.
Well, they have two maps of the color. It was one the culinary students and other the baking and pastry arts students. So, I mean, we learned all baked things. We did have cooking classes where we learned really cooking cuisine and all that stuff and how to make consommes and everything like that. But and the five mother sauces and stuff. But we really just focused on learning every aspect of baking and all the breads and croissants and pastries and cakes and everything like that. So. Mhm.
And then you did an internship down in New Orleans, right?
Yes, an internship at the Windsor Court Hotel. Yes, yeah, it was at the time. I don't know if it is still. It was one of the only five-star, five-diamond hotels in New Orleans when I was there. So it was a really unique experience. Really great. The pastry chef I had was great. Keegan Garrard, he's great. I think he's still doing great things. He shows a lot up on the Food Network. But he was really great, and luckily the pastry kitchen was sort of away from from the main kitchen because the main kitchen had an English chef, and that's what I like to tell people. Man, we can get into Gordon Ramsay a little bit, but people, and I say Gordon Ramsay is like that is not an act. That's how all kitchens are back in the day. I mean, now it's kind of changing in kitchens, but all kitchens were like that back in the day. It was, shut up, you're an idiot, do better. The whole thing you just spent an hour preparing, you mess this up, throw it away, start over. So a lot of kitchens were like that, and that's a lot of kitchens I came up in. So yeah, got to see a little bit of that in New Orleans, internship.
So years ago, I was offered a role running an organization in New Orleans, and I flew down for the interview. And they took me out to lunch and to dinner while I was there, and I almost moved to New Orleans just because of the food,
Oh,
right? So it was so good.
yeah.
So if you were crafting delights down there, I'm sure it was definitely top notch.
Yeah, yeah. I think New Orleans is I mean, I would put New Orleans probably one of the best food city in America because it's one of the only food cities that has its own cuisine. Like every other city, I mean, some cities have like a unique thing, one or two things, but we're all sort of the same in America, where New Orleans has its own thing. You know, I just learned the other day, I don't know if you know this, but you're supposed to eat gumbo with potato salad, and I didn't even know. So
It's funny that you mentioned that because I've been on a gumbo kick the past 3 or 4 months. So I've been trying different recipes
yeah.
out, and one person mentioned the potato salad scenario, but I had not heard it before.
It's a thing. I just had it the other day and it was delicious. And I was like, never heard of this. I even lived in New Orleans and no one told me. And they're like, yeah, this is a thing. Like some people put cold potato salad in the gumbo, but a lot of people just take a scoop of potato salad and then you dip it in the gumbo and take a spoonful. And I was like, oh, wow. So that's the real New Orleans people, gumbo and potato salad. So
Right.
try that next time you're
Will
experimenting with your
will do.
gumbo.
So you're doing your college studies, crafting your skills even more. And then you come out, but you don't start the donut shop right away. You go and spend a little time in corporate America. Tell me about that.
Well, even before then, a little bit before, after I went to the Culinary Institute of America, I really liked the baking science aspect of it. So then I decided to go. There was a school in Kansas. It's no longer exists. It was a really great school too. It was called the American Institute of Baking, where they taught baking science. So a lot of executives, and this is worldwide, because Kansas is the grain box of America. So Kansas State does a lot of grain science there. So they had an offshoot that taught people how to use the grains, how to use flour. And and this school was just built on baking science. So a lot of executives from all these major food companies from around the world would send their employees to there. So, so even, yeah, at the school, me and my class was probably like 40 people, and maybe like 20 of them were Americans, but the rest of the students were international from Japan, Mexico, France, just coming there to learn like why flour does this and how to do this and high ratio and should we bleach it and all these things and what happens when the flour does this. So that was a really really great school. And but then after you go to a school like that, because I was one of the only students, I was probably one of four students who went there not already working at a company. Most of the time you work at a company and your company sends you there to learn. But I didn't have a job. I just wanted to learn baking science. So after, graduated from that school, I got a job with Flowers Baking Company. They're out of Georgia here, out of Thomasville, Georgia. I don't know what they are now, but they're one of the biggest bakeries in the country. I don't know if they're number two or what, but Flowers Baking Company, really big company. If everybody's seen their breads. If you've been in the Southeast, you've seen their breads. They make Nature's Own, Sunbeam. Um, a lot of the breads are Arby's and Chick-fil-A. They make a lot of their buns and stuff. So that was a really great Flowers Baking Company was a really great job. Just being out there in charge of a whole bread line, that was really exciting and really developmental with learning how to. Because I remember when I first went to the Culinary Institute of America, one of the chefs there, he could listen to dough being mixed and just hear it slapping and know the gluten development of how much longer it had to be mixed. And I was like, wow, that's such a great skill. And, but then by the time I was done leaving my journey there at Flowers, I could just see, because, we had these big mixers that were, probably about as big as this room, big mixer, mixing thousands of pounds of dough. And I could just tell from football field away if the dough was ready or not. So, because I got the bakers, because I'm in charge of the whole line, but I got a mixer there and he mixes the dough. And I could see him ready to kick out the dough. That's what we call it. You kick it out the machine. And I could see, oh, it's not ready. So I got to run. No, I need 2 more minutes on that dough because I don't need that dough to come down my line and then ruin stuff. It needs to run smoothly. So, yeah, so that was a different journey that obviously I started with wanting to be a pastry chef and make an individual thing, individual art. That was more of the science aspect of baking and stuff. But yeah, so I really enjoy that. But I still had the itch to create my own thing.
And how long did you stay there?
3 years. 3 years I was at Flowers Baking Company of Tucker. Still talk to some good people. I actually talked to one of my homeboys the other day that I was at Flowers with. So yeah, still keep in touch with a lot of good people from Flowers.
All right, so you're over an industrial size baking department and crafting quality foods there, but you say you still have the itch, you still want to do pastries. What brought you back to donuts?
Uh, that is a good question, and I like to say because and it wasn't even donuts at the time because even when I was in the Navy, donuts were like some making made all the baked goods. It was the worst thing to make. Like it's greasy. You gotta fry them individually fried. So I didn't really enjoy making donuts. But as I got out of there and after, was in Flowers and just thinking I want to do my own thing. I just want to create my own bakery and looking around like we don't in America here in Georgia in particular too, there's not a lot of local successful bakeries. A lot of the bakeries that are successful are ethnic bakeries. So something like a Vietnamese bakery and it serves, the Vietnamese population, or a Korean bakery or a Venezuelan bakery and it serves, them. And then obviously American people will go there and be like, oh, treat it and eat their stuff too. But you rarely see just a bakery that is just an American or European bakery that just serves baguettes or good quality bread. They open up, they get a lot of great press for maybe about a year, and then after a year they close. And it's because we're already used to going to the grocery. We're not going to go to a separate bakery, a separate place to go get bread. We can go get all that at the grocery store. So a lot of those places fail. So I was sort of thinking, how can I do something I really like? Because I really like the baking aspect more than the pastry or cake aspect of it. So I was like, I really want to bake. But how can I bake, but then still do some fun, unique stuff? And it was donuts. I was like, you know what? Donuts are sort of the thing. And this was, 2007, 2006 when I was thinking of it, where it was before the big donut boom happened. So at that time, maybe 2007, there was kind of a time where people were, because now we live in that post time. It's funny where people, because now I think about before then, where just like hamburgers were all the same, but around 2007, people started taking like hamburgers and really making gourmet hamburgers and having a place that's dedicated to just really unique, really cool gourmet hamburgers. That was sort of a cool thing, and that's where all this foodie thing started happening because the Food Network started getting really popular with a lot of their travel shows. So a lot of people started being like, oh, let me travel in my city and sort of find the really unique boutique, cool restaurants in my city. So so I was thinking, okay, I don't think anyone has made better donuts at the time. No one has made good donuts. So started business planning it out, playing with some flavors and stuff. And I was like, you know what, this can really be explored. This can really be fun. And 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 it's funny when I first started telling people I was going to do this, I'm going to do it. People were like, "But we already have Dunkin' Donuts. Like, why do we need another donut shop? Like, we already have Krispy Kreme." And I was like, it can be better. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can have the same thing, but you can also make something better. We already have a Ford Model T, but we can still have Mercedes Benzes and Rolls Royces. They can both exist in the market together. So that was sort of my thing. And it was interesting that people couldn't even fathom, like, why would we need another place like this? And I kind of believed that it could exist and it would be successful. And yeah, just so I was business planning it out at the time, and driving by Atlanta, driving by 10th Street, saw a little donut shop being built up, and I was like, oh man. maybe they're gonna do my idea. So I was like, oh, and it wasn't even open yet. It was still being built. And I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna come back. So then like maybe 6 months later, I came back to try their donuts. Donuts were terrible. They were plain basic donuts, but they weren't even that good. And then because I like to support small business, said, came back probably like 3 months later, let me go try them again. And they were already closed, had a big for lease sign up. And I was like, all right, come on. You're talking about, you wrote this business plan for donuts. You said their donuts were terrible. You think you can do better? Why don't you call them up? And, called them up and, got the ball rolling. Hmm.
So you studied the marketplace and
Hmm.
saw that there was a hole in the donut creativity and quality space, especially in Atlanta.
Hmm.
And you thought this is where I need to dive into. So you did your research, put a business plan together, and what have you. And in an effort to actually support small business, you found out that an opportunity existed to get a location across from Georgia Tech. So I'm imagining that's got to drive some foot traffic and what have you to some degree. There's a difference though between being really good and being a master of a product,
Hmm.
right? And the business of selling it, right? So what did you learn in the process of doing your research on opening up a retail location and whatnot that you were gonna have to be good at and bring to the table to couple with your product expertise?
Oh, well, I don't know. I think I just figured that out along the way and really just decided to stick to my guns on making unique product. Because when I first started off, and this is 2008, so this is a whole nother part of that story. So this is 2008, June, July of 2008. I'm, decided I want to do this. Now I already have my business plan, so I'm applying for loans. Bank doesn't give me any loans. I'm like, oh man, this is crazy because everybody's getting loans at this time. Everybody's getting money. Everybody's buying houses. Like, why can't I get a loan? They don't give me a loan, so I really don't have any money to. I don't have any money to even start the business. I had to cash out my 401k, which was just pennies. Took a micro loan from Axion USA. Um, so I couldn't do all the, things, the marketing things I had in my business plan, couldn't do all these random commercials or all these random ideas I had. So I said, all right, since we don't have any money, we need to just make the most unique product possible. So then it was like, let's make something that, because I knew that this foodie thing kind of was bubbling up and people were really looking for unique products in the city. And I was like, all right, let's try to make the best possible donut we can make. So at the time when I opened up, I said, all right, we're gonna not even make a chocolate or glazed donut. So if you come in, because normally that's everybody's default. If they go into a place, they'll be like, all right, let me just get the plain. Let me get a cheese pizza. Let me try you out. I'll get the cheese, and then if you're good, then I'll try other stuff. And I was like, you know what? We're gonna take away the default. That's chocolate and that's glaze. We're just gonna get that out of here, and we're gonna try to make the most unique donuts we can have. And then if people walk in the store, they have to get a Oreo donut, or they have to get a fresh strawberries and cream. They have to get a Reese's peanut butter cup. And slowly but surely, you would see people come in like, oh my God, they'll get the Oreo and they'll leave, come back, a friend be like, hey, I heard y'all were doing Oreo donuts. So it was, now Oreo donuts kind of blasé, but at the time it was groundbreaking. Okay. It was so unique. So that was really the idea, is like, let's try to make the most unique product we can make. And then slowly but surely, the foodies, the bloggers, and all of them started coming by, and the AJC wrote us up. So it really was just like, let's let the product sell itself. Let's market this product. So, mhm.
And so you had a philosophy of if you build it, they will come
If you build it, they
type of
will
deal. And I
come.
remember seeing some press or at least hearing some word of mouth about you, which is what really turned me on to your business. Another thing was happening in 2008 though when you were launching it, and that was the economy was collapsing.
Yes. Yeah. So then, September, August 25th, I opened up, and then September, economy collapsed. So that's why I couldn't get a loan, economy collapsed. But they say if you open in a bad economy, then when, everything goes right, you'll be really successful in a good economy. So, but yeah, and another unique thing they say about donuts, they say when people are in a recession, they normally can't do the big purchases, but they do the small indulgences to keep them happy. So smoke cigarettes or eat sweets. And donuts are cheap enough luxury where you can be like, you know what? Life's going bad for me today. I don't have a lot of money, but I can make myself happy with just a small $2 donut. You know what I'm saying? So we were kind of really positioned in a good place to capitalize on just, making people happy. That's what I tell the employees that come in or just people. I say, we are not in the food business. Nobody really eats a donut. People experience a donut. No one says, I'm hungry. Oh, let me go get a donut. Like you go to treat yourself to a donut or to treat others. You take a donut to a party to make people happy. So we are in the happiness business. We're not in the food business.
I love that. You don't eat a donut, you experience a donut. And listen, I'm a sweet aholic, and I use sweets to cope through all types of tough times in my life.
Treat yourself. Me too.
Right.
Me
So
too.
I'm glad people like you exist and can make products for people like me. Um, Tell me, where did you get the name from?
Sublime is just a good word. I mean, I really wanted to have a word that meant something. So sublime means awe-inspiring, best of the best, top of the top. You can be like, oh, this is like heavenly, it's sublime. But people don't use it. So it's not a word that people use in the English language a lot. So if I would have called it, great donuts, people would never be like, hey, let's go to great. But now called a Sublime Donuts, people don't even say donuts no more. They just say, hey, you going to Sublime? Like Sublime is the thing. And, that really worked for me. It's funny because, I mean, Dunkin' Donuts, they've been trying to get rid of donuts for years and it's not working. They've been running, America's run on Dunkin' for years and no one calls it Dunkin'. Everyone just calls it Dunkin' Donuts.
And, I probably should, the most important question of this interview, which I think you've already kind of provided an answer, but is it DONUT or is it DOUGHNUT?
Well, I like the DOUGHNUT. I think that that is that's the full spelling. That's the original spelling from the earliest spelling. Washington Irvin of Sleepy Hollow fame. I think he wrote a book called The History of New York, and he wrote about a feast and talked about all the things that were on the platter, and one of the things was donuts, and that's how he spelt it. So that's what I'm going with. But it all works, words are all made up. So whatever you want to say works for you.
Words are all made up. Um, so you in '08, you launch, you get some press, and it starts to take off for you.
Mhm.
And I mean, we're talking about we're in 25 now, so you've got 15 plus years in business, which is not easy to do for a retail shop. And you've got more than one location here in Atlanta and a reputation for quality pastries. But you also branched out beyond the borders of America. Tell me about your experience introducing Sublime to other parts of the world.
Oh yeah. We had a great opportunity to open up a shop in Bangkok because where the 10th Street shop is right across from Georgia Tech. So I think a tech student, she was from Bangkok, Thailand. She used to come by the donut shop frequently. So I think she wrote on like a Thai blog. Oh, these are the best donuts in America, and that's when we were getting a lot of great press. These are the best donuts in America, best donuts she ever had. And it was maybe like a popular Thai blog, and a gentleman from Thailand, entrepreneur, wanted to introduce a really unique donut shop. And this is kind of when donuts were having their heyday. So he really wanted to franchise a donut shop from America in Thailand, but he didn't want to go the Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donuts. He wanted to have a unique brand that he could really expand with. And he contacted me. And that's the thing about being an entrepreneur. If you tell anybody, they're gonna be like, "Oh, don't do it. They're gonna steal your ideas. You're so small." And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter if they steal my ideas. Like, we're gonna obviously get a lawyer and a contract going together, and we're gonna put that in place. So, but the thing about being in Thailand, he could decide not to stop paying royalties or to make terrible donuts, and that could hurt the brand. And I was like, they're in Thailand. Like, it won't hurt the brand. And someone could just go right now and just copy my website and steal my whole thing, and I would never know about it. You know what I'm saying? So I said, let's figure it out and let's work together. And it turned out he was a great partner. Boonket, I love Boonket. We had the shop going in in a couple different places in Thailand, one in CM Square, another one in Fortune Town IT Mall. And yeah, he came to Atlanta, showed him how to make donuts in Atlanta, then went out to Thailand a couple times to help train the staff, help build it out. So it was a really great partnership. We were going together for like 8 years, but sort of the pandemic sort of shut that down, and he kind of wanted to do something else. But it's funny when he was closing it. I guess one of his regular customers was a guy, a restaurateur who had a bunch of restaurants, and he wanted to start. He wanted to bring the brand back, but then the pandemic really was hitting because Thailand is really popular with a tourist culture, and the tourism industry kind of died with the pandemic, so the talks stopped. But yeah, that was a great opportunity to be able to go to Thailand. And another question people like to ask me is like, "Oh, did you do some Thai flavored donuts?" And it's like, "No, we did the same donuts you could get here," because that's the thing. If a Thai restaurant opened up here in Georgia, you don't want them making lemon pepper wings. You want to go there and get pad Thai. You want to feel like you're eating a recipe that's in Thailand. So that was the same thing with the Thai people. They don't want you to cater to them. They already got everything catering to them. They want to eat a Sublime Donuts and feel like this is the same recipe they're getting from Atlanta, Georgia. So we got a classic donut called the A-Town Cream. They had the A-Town Cream in Thailand and everything. So yeah.
I'm telling you, if I had a donut shop with a location on the other side of the world, you couldn't tell me nothing. I'd be like, every time I talk to somebody, I say, you know, they buy my donuts in Thailand, right? So
It's funny. I didn't flex enough on it. I didn't flex enough. So now it's just a name drop. I just drop it every now and then. But
So you had some success, which also just speaks to the quality of the product, right? If you have a customer, which is the best type of success, right? When you have a customer desire your product so much that they want it where they go back home and whatnot. And it's kind of funny, there are some places, I'm a creature of habit, so I go to some restaurants to get the same thing over and over because they do it so good. And when they change that item on the menu, I'm devastated. Right? It's like why am I going back there? So that speaks to the quality and the deliciousness of the product. And then you also got approached here in Atlanta by the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Tell me about that.
yeah, when Mercedes-Benz Stadium was first opening up, when they were building it out, they were looking for really unique Atlanta places to be in there. Arthur Blank really wanted this to be a local thing. So they contacted us about having a donut store in there. So yeah, we worked it out. It was a great deal. First couple years, being in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I mean, and that's talking about another random dream, because, starting this journey, I just wanted to make good donuts that people would come to around here. So, growing up here in Atlanta and seeing the Atlanta Falcons, that's another thing, like having a place in where the Falcons play at was sort of magical and sort of fun. But yeah, so that was a really, really, really cool opportunity to be in there.
And so you've got the location by Georgia Tech. You've got the second location that you opened off of North Druid. You've got the football stadium for a couple of years. You've got the franchise going. And you mentioned a few times the heyday of donuts, right? What would you say the heyday time period of donuts was?
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, because it these things do have their ebbs and flows, and that's what I've been telling people recently. I'm like, that doesn't feel like the heyday. I don't think it's dead, because I feel like you can probably remember like frozen yogurt, how everybody used to eat frozen yogurt, and there was a frozen yogurt on every corner. I don't even see one anymore. So they sort of died. Cupcakes used to be on every corner. I mean, Kimmy Cake's still doing great, but you don't see the cupcake places as much as you do anymore. And donuts sort of had its thing where but donuts is more like I say Americana. Like donuts are woven into the fabric. So it had its heyday where people just really talked about donuts and loved donuts, probably maybe like a year or two after I opened. So 2009 to, I don't know, maybe 2000, maybe like 10 years, 2019. Or I feel like that was sort of people always talking about donuts. Donuts were in just the fabric. There was a lot of people getting into the donut space because that's another thing. Once you're successful, everybody wants to do it. So many people would give me calls of, hey, can you tell me I'm thinking about opening up a donut shop in my city? And you saw a lot of these boutique donut shops like me open up. So, because when I opened up in 2008, there were probably 2 or 3 boutique gourmet donut shops in the country. And now there's sort of a lot of them all over the place. And that's a good thing. But so it's it's still good. Like people still eat donuts a lot, but they just don't talk about it as much. It's just not the craze. And it's because there's just so many things going on right now, with the TikToks and Instagrams and stuff. Not to be like an old man, but there's so much stuff. So people don't really talk about donuts as much as they used to. So that's what I kind of say. That was sort of the heyday during the donuts where people just thought about donuts and ate donuts all the time. It was a wild time.
Well, I'm still thinking about and eating donuts all the time. But what would you say were some of the challenges or lessons learned in your 15 plus, business endeavor, in terms of, business has ups and downs, ebbs and flows. What did you learn and what challenges did you have to overcome?
I mean, yeah, it's really the people. I mean, good people are hard to find. Obviously, learning to manage people, learning to work with people, that's still the challenges, all the time. I mean, obviously, this is why you have this podcast because you're probably super skilled at soft skills and talking to people, going in rooms, shaking hands. So, learning to do that to grow the business, you know what I'm saying? But then also, learning to, work with people and have them follow you and have them lead, because that's essentially, being an entrepreneur, you're coming up with this idea, but you need other people to execute it all the time the same way. Because, like you said, like this is donuts. I didn't make these donuts today, but I need the donuts made like I told them to make it every day. Because when you eat the donut, you're not going to say, oh, that's because Larry worked there for 6 months and he made terrible donuts. But I can go back, because Larry got fired. You're gonna be like, yeah, come on, just don't do it like you used to. You know what I'm saying? So to get people to understand, no, we got to make it the same every day, and it's got to look like this. And to get them to understand and believe that, because you can't be there. It's not about yelling at them. It's just about having them believe in that. Yeah, because I got asked this question a while ago, like, what is the difference between a manager and a leader? And I feel like a manager is just, here, let me watch you, stay on top of you. Are you doing this? Okay, you did it. Let me see if you did it. And a leader really makes people believe in the idea and understand how to do it without them being around and be like, all right, I'm going to go full forward with this idea and keep doing it. So just kind of be a good leader and just trying to find good people. So it's all the people, the toughest thing always.
I love that though. You talk about, teaching leadership and inspiring them to believe in the vision and the quality of the product because you're right. If the donuts fall off, the customers are going to fall off. And I make it a personal mission of mine to go in and have a conversation with the owner if it's someone I want to continue to succeed.
Mhm.
Not just because it's a black business, but because I also want to get the product, right? And I don't want the business to go,
Yeah.
go out. But a lot of people don't, right? A lot of people are not gonna give you the feedback like when you were in the Navy, they're gonna just stop
Yeah.
patronizing. And so you do have to ensure that your team is executing at a high level. And it's difficult to do if they're not owners in the business as
Yeah.
well, right? Because they don't take the vested interest that the owner would.
Yeah.
And so teaching that is obviously incredibly important.
Yeah.
I know that as you were thinking about diversifying what the next few years look like for you in terms of business opportunity and whatnot,
Mm.
you've considered entering into some new industries and whatnot. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're talking here today because the donut shop is it's pretty successful, got a lot of great press over the years. So I was just thinking that, we've had a lot of, obviously great press. This podcast is going to be watched by millions of people around the world, but they're not going to be able to be like, give me their money for a Sublime Donut unless they're on 10th Street or on North Druid Hills. So it's like, how can I make a product that can be sort of, nationally or global? And it can be easier to do. So I was like, let me get in the CPG space, consumer product good. And, that's sort of the space I came from with flour. So I was like, if if I can make a unique product and put it on store shelves, maybe I can extend my reach and, hopefully I can get the same amount of great press that I got for the donut shop. And, I can be buying a yacht in a couple years. So that was the idea. So I was really looking at what's a unique product that I can put out because, I still love the baked goods. And was like, all right, it's hard to launch a new product. Maybe if I can sort of launch a new product, but with so maybe launch an old product, but with new ideas. So I started, thinking of what is what is the old product that died and got discontinued, and maybe the trademark is dead. And was looking around and thought of a great product that I used to love as a kid called Magic Middles. And Keebler used to make it. It was like a crispy cookie outside with chocolatey filling inside. And so I looked up the trademark. The trademark was dead. Went ahead and bought the trademark, applied for it, and got it. And then it was just about utilizing all the skills I had from the years of being in the baking industry. Because, right now I've been baking long enough where people always like, oh, my grandma's secret recipe. Like, I can taste your recipe and figure out how to make it. Like, it's not that crazy. It's only a couple ways to do things. So thinking about how, okay, let me try to reverse engineer from memory how to make the Magic Middles, and worked on that for a couple years, then finally perfected it, then found a good manufacturer out of Colombia to make the product for me, and then spent the last couple of years just trying to get it back on store shelves, but quickly realized, whoo, getting in that world is a lot harder. It's a lot harder than doing this. Open up a donut shop, you make some donuts at the back, you put it out front, you unlock your door, turn on the open sign, and, hopefully people come in. That's a whole nother thing where you got to make a product and you got to get the stores to believe in you. You got to get the Krogers, the Walmarts, Targets, or whatever to believe in you and put it on their store shelves. But then now you got to, after that's done, then you got to get the customers to come buy it from their store shelves because they're not going to want to keep buying a product that's collecting dust on their shelf. So yeah, trying to figure that beast out is sort of the journey I'm on right now, and it is tough. But I've had a few successes. I was fortunate to be contacted by a reality show, Gordon Ramsay's Food Stars, to be on there, and was able to promote the product, and that was a really cool, really unique experience. So, so we've had some things.
So you were on the Food Stars show with Gordon Ramsay, and he was yelling and screaming and whatnot, like you see him on TV. Well, tell me a little bit more about that experience.
Yeah, that was a really unique experience. It was filmed out in London. It was with Gordon Ramsay and Lisa Vanderpump. She was like the co-host of the show, and it's sort of like. First episode was sort of like Shark Tank, where you pitch your idea and then they put you on either other team or they don't put you on no team. And then the rest of the episodes were like The Apprentice, where you go compete in a random task and the winner wins $250,000. I mean, it's funny going out there. I didn't think I was gonna win because I was like, and then when I got out there, love all the contestants. I was like, oh, they're all personalities. Oh, they're all ready to interact with the camera. And I don't think I was quite prepared to interact. I mean, I think I do have a good personality, but I don't think I could have kept it up, what I'm saying? Kept going. And it was a lot. So, but it was a really cool experience to be able to be out there in London, travel around London. Cause you're in London and you're traveling different locations. So you get to see a lot of London from different things that you want to do as being a tourist, just showing up in London. But then also you're with people that are from London. So then that's a cool experience because now you get to talk to a Londonite or Londoner, I forgot what they call themselves, but you get to talk to them and just hear about their experience, and you feel like you're in London. So it was a really, really cool experience to be able to do that. And, I now I can add that another check on the box. I was on a reality TV show. I'm a reality TV show person. I saw behind the scenes of how that works. So it is a unique thing now to be able to watch reality shows. I'm like, I kind of know what's going on behind there. I don't know if it went down like that, but okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so you were pitching the Magic Middles on that show, and you lasted how many weeks?
3 episodes. Spoiler alert, 3 episodes, 3 of the best episodes, okay?
Okay. All right. 3 of the best episodes. Well, maybe you need to take that knowledge that you gained from that show and launch a reality show on
You know,
Doughnuts in Atlanta, Sublime in Atlanta.
yeah, it's funny. Years ago, like it's back in the heyday. I'm going back to the heyday of the donuts. Uh, if I felt like every year a production company would contact me about something like that because that was the time during the Sweetie Pies era. So there was like reality shows and what's that? Charm City Cakes, I think, was out. So there was unique reality shows where they were in bakeries or in restaurants and saw, the whole drama of that happening. So I would get contacted. Every year or so, someone with a production company, hey, let's pitch an idea. I even filmed some stuff, but I don't know. For whatever reason, we haven't done that yet. But who knows? The future's bright, so we'll
So if
see.
you need some taste testers, just let me know.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that, as you said, as the millions of people watch this podcast, they're going to start beating down your doors on both your locations and maybe force you to open up some additional locations. What are you most excited about in the next 5 years?
Just coming up with new fun stuff, working on projects. I mean, that's always the idea is just to keep going forward with the Magic Middles, seeing where the Magic Middles takes me. Because that's another thing. I haven't had the financial success of Magic Middles yet, but it already has taken me some places where I wouldn't have had with the donut shop. Obviously, i.e., the Gordon Ramsay thing in London. But then another thing, I went out to Bentonville, Arkansas, where Walmart is headquartered, and did a whole pitch out there where they did a conference, but they only invited like 20 or 30 Black entrepreneurs at the time. But we were there, but then it was a whole they were doing a whole diversity summit, so it was their whole headquarters. So just being able to see that and then be in the Walmart headquarters and hear their story from the Walmart people, like it was just the most fascinating thing. I didn't realize that, you talk about Fortune 500. Oh, I'm a Fortune 500 company, Fortune 100. One of their speakers or CEOs or executives got up there and said, because we're Fortune 1. And I said, Fortune 1? Hold on. And I realized we talk about Teslas, Apples, Googles, and all this thing. It's Walmart. Walmart is the biggest company. They are Fortune 1. They are the number one company, which is crazy. So, being able to experience that and just see those different things, because obviously I don't work in a corporation. I only work for myself, so I don't get to see how other people live. And that was unique. So the Magic Middles journey has taken me places, and I'm just excited on where it can take me in the future. So, yeah.
Well, much success. We wish you with that endeavor. What I always ask my guests to do before they depart is to think about the listener of this podcast and what is the business that you would like to give them in terms of the next generation of entrepreneurs, and what advice and lessons and experiences that you've had would you like to pass on to them?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you got a plan, business plan. Say failure to plan is planning to fail. So you definitely got a business plan out. And, get good people, listen to people, make sure, you know who's around you, and really study being your craft. Like a lot of people like to open up something. Let's say I open up a pizza place. Oh, I'm just going to make pizzas because there's no pizza place in a 5 mile radius. You will fail. If you don't open up a pizza place thinking, I want to make the best possible pizza that I can possibly make, that's the only way you do it. Cause I like to say, being like even open up a restaurant, when your customers come to you, it's like they're giving you a blue ribbon. Like you're at a fair and they're giving you a blue ribbon award. You could go eat all the things. You're choosing this person to give your money to fill your stomach up for that day. So they have won the prize today. You are giving them, they're the best place. So every time you go out and make a product or whatever it is, it has to win the blue ribbon prize at the fair. So that's what it's about. Making the best possible product you can.
I love it. So if you are in the Atlanta area, make sure you patronize Sublime Doughnuts. You will not be disappointed with these delicious flavors and treats. And I'm gonna probably gain 3 or 4 pounds today, but that is the price we pay to interview greatness. Thank you, Kamal, for joining the show and for giving everyone the business.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.